All right, hello, welcome to day 3 of the Global Planning Meeting. This is the third and last Facebook Live today. I am joined with Elva Escobar from the National University of Mexico and Guillermo Ortuño Crespo from his PhD candidate at Duke's Marine Geospatial Ecology Lab. So today the topic of this session will be around intergenerational exchange and youth empowerment for the ocean decade. So without further ado, I'll ask Elva, what do you think youth should be preparing for at this stage, 18 months before the start of the ocean decade?
Well, we are actually setting the stage for them. They will be in charge of all and leading all these scientific research. And I think the topics that they can recognize where we have gaps, where we have to design new technology and innovate, we have to listen to them. We have to support them and see how to leverage all that knowledge that they will have to need to complete the decade.
Okay. Guillermo, you work specifically in the ocean pelagic space. Can you tell us a little bit about your study?
Sure. So my research tries to understand where humans and pelagic species are in the open ocean. So what is our preferred habitat as a predator, as a new top predator in the open ocean? We're no longer fishing the coastlines, we're fishing the high seas. Every single corner of the ocean is impacted by humans, and I try to understand what the drivers of our distribution is to try to improve how we manage ocean spaces as humans become more of an oceanic species.
So something we've heard over the years are marine protected areas. Marine protected areas are solutions to safeguard species and essentially replenish fish stocks. Is it something that you would like to see on the high seas, and how might high seas MPAs move forward?
Well, that's a tricky one. So, as you probably know, the UN, they're currently negotiating what will become the first international treaty to protect biodiversity in the high seas, and one of the elements is area-based management, so spatial management. But spatial management is not only MPAs. I think we have an opportunity to plan. I think we're live? Okay. Yeah. They cover a small proportion of the high seas, and we definitely, there's some ecosystems that definitely marine protected areas, but there's other forms of spatial management that are more sector specific. And we don't have to close the ocean to all human uses, only to those that are detrimental.
One tool is the EBSAs.
Actually the EBSAs that were proposed a couple of years ago included, and actually they are based on the God's biogeography, and that biogeography recognized that these EBSAs need to move. They are not static. They change from year to year. They change stationally.
Just can you tell the audience what an EBSA is? And, some people might know what an EBSA is. It's actually an EBSA. Can you just give us the definition?
Yeah, actually what I will do is define it very widely, which is an area of conservation of biodiversity because it's special. It has either vulnerable species, it has unique species, species that are reproducing, or species that require very special treatment. So we have recognized those areas as areas of opportunity to preserve and to better understand and to see which gaps of knowledge we have. The pelagic environment in particular has been characterized to be highly diluted in information. It's difficult to study, and species occur dispersed and sometimes aggregated. Having a census of these areas is very difficult and has a lack of information. We have to cope with this lack of information to propose policy making, to propose conservation areas. So the information that Guillermo and his generation can gather will be very important for decision makers in the future.
So at the start of the planning process for the ocean decade, and these topics, among many topics that are being discussed, open ocean, conservation of ecosystems and biodiversity, you're part of the executive planning group. Can you tell us how the executive planning group works? What does it consist of?
We are 19 experts that were designated to work on the planning of the upcoming decade for the development of the Sustainable Development Goals, in which the ocean is the most important asset. And what we have to define is a scientific plan. It is composed of different themes, and these themes are to be developed during this decade.
Okay. So, Guillermo, you've been to Scotland just like me. St Andrews, I was down in Edinburgh. What did you learn throughout your career that is really valuable for people who want to study marine science?
Thank you for that question. No, especially to St Andrews, it's very dear to me because that's where I did my master's in ecosystem-based management or marine systems, and that's where I really got to understand that if you care about the oceans, you can't just care about the ecological dimension. There's a human dimension and a legal dimension that you have to understand. And anyone out there, any young professional, we have to speak several languages, not just if you have a legal background, learn the ecology, learn the anthropology, and vice versa. You have to. So like we're seeing in the decade, we need a lot of professionals, and not just marine scientists and oceanographers. We need anthropologists, we need journalists, we need legal experts. We need to make this a cross-sectoral conversation because no one group is going to be, no one generation or no one professional group is going to be able to achieve the targets for SDG 14 alone.
I may probably add to that. In talking about St Andrews, we have colleagues that have been formed in St Andrews. They include behavior. And behavior both of the species and of the human. Exactly. So you have to go both of them together so that you can better understand the ecosystem and the changes that are occurring in the last decades and in the near future, so that your models get to be more robust.
I agree.
Yep.
So in a way, I mean, we've been talking about this since day one. Is really the combination of the science and the social science. What would you say to a prospective, early career scientist of either social science or just science towards the ocean decade? What would you recommend to them in regards to the ocean decade?
Well, get involved. We're trying to figure out how. Everyone who's here, there's hundreds of people here who are trying to figure out how to get the new generations involved. But don't wait for us. Reach out, find a way to get involved. The IUC UNESCO Facebook page is the best place to get started. So form part of that group and then keep tuned. We have to be active about this, not passive, and actually look for opportunities for cross-sectoral research. Wherever your professional focus is, there is someone out there, another young professional who could probably benefit from your expertise. So put yourself out there and look for those collaborations. I never thought I would collaborate with anthropologists and maybe sociologists.
Bridging of generations.
We're back live again.
Bridging with, I would probably say as well, Guillermo, that we should try to bridge with the intergenerational knowledge. We should also bridge with the industry, with the decision makers, different sectors, the stakeholders in general, because we all have something to say. And maybe some of that has been said, but it has not been said enough and by everybody. So we have to be open to those conversations and include indigenous knowledge, among other things. Because some regions require that knowledge to be put in.
Yes, I totally agree on that note. There are many forms of knowledge, and the scientific knowledge and science can tell us part of the story, but it's just part of the story. And I think as a scientist, that's something that I learned. There's a professor, I don't know if she's listening, Lisa Campbell from Duke University. The best course that I ever took, political ecology at Duke. And that taught me about the role that science can play and the role that science cannot play. And other forms of knowledge that transcend disciplines and that go back way before modern science started, and that can tell us a lot about the ocean that science will never be able to tell us. And so that knowledge is locked in the heads of people around the world, and maybe they're not following us in this live event, and we have to reach out to them too, which we'll figure out a way.
Great. So we're coming to the end of our Facebook Live now. I think what we can conclude is that the ocean decade belongs to us all, and it's not just something for ocean scientists. It's goes all across the board. Just one final message, perhaps you have for the viewers there, particularly the young ones?
Oh, the young ones. So yesterday I Googled how many days until the end of the decade of ocean science, and it's 3,884 days, and we're on day 3. So there's a lot of work that has to be done, and like you were saying, we have to make this an intergenerational process and conversation, and this is only the beginning. So we have a lot of work to do, and we need the more people, the better job we'll do for the ocean and for people who depend on the ocean.
Thank you, Guillermo. And Elva, you have a...
Yeah, I would probably add, and then my final comment would be commit. Actually, it is a matter of committing. It is what we do that makes the what we do for the ocean different. It is not who invites you or join a group. It's just do something and join and commit. I think the new models that we will have to explore on funding, on ways to appropriate the knowledge of the ocean are very important.
Thank you. Thank you to you both. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll see you again in a few weeks or months.